Today we are going to continue our study of Social Studies Chapter 5 on Ancient India with Lesson 3, Origins of Buddhism. Okay, our last lesson we talked about Hinduism. So today we have Buddhism. So the big idea for today. Buddhism began in India and became a major religion. The main issues: Siddhartha Gautama searched for wisdom in many ways. The teachings of Buddhism deal with finding peace, and Buddhism spread far from where it began in India. All right, so we have this guy. He's actually a prince. His name is Siddhartha Gautama, and he questioned the meaning of life. He grew up in a palace, of course, because he was prince, and on his quest basically for knowledge and to get answers, he went on this little journey and he saw 3 different men, like things that he never saw in the palace. Like one was near death, one was sick. So this just made him question even more. And if you back up from when he was born, it was told to his parents that if he left out from the walls of the palace, that he wouldn't make it. So his parents kind of sheltered him, but he did manage to get out and see, some things that he didn't like and he wanted answers for. So as he grew, he was determined to find those answers. And he used 3 different things: meditation, which is kind of like prayer, fasting, where you don't eat, and then learning from different teachers. So he would talk to them and ask them questions. So ultimately, he was trying to reach what is called enlightenment. And he supposedly found this under the Tree of Wisdom while he was meditating. Once he became enlightened, he was then called the Buddha, which means enlightened one. And henceforth, Buddhism was born from Buddha, who was Siddhartha Gautama. So he spent the rest of his life traveling around India and teaching his ideas. So you're going to watch the video on the next slide. You're going to come back and do that on Buddha's life, and it will help you understand the whole story a whole lot more than what I just told you. Here is a painting when it's called The Great Departure, and it's mythical, but you can see that he's leaving the palace to search for the true meaning of life. So there are 4 noble truths in Buddhism. 1, suffering and unhappiness are part of human life, meaning no one can escape sorrow. That's going to happen in your life. 2, he thought that suffering comes from our desires for pleasure and material goods. So we want to feel good and we want to have stuff. So if we can't get that, then we're not happy. So that's what that noble truth would mean. 3, people can overcome desire and ignorance and reach nirvana. Now, nirvana is a state of perfect peace. And then he went a step further and said, people can overcome ignorance and desire by following an eightfold path. And that eightfold path would lead you to wisdom, enlightenment, and salvation. So, from the Four Noble Truths, you get the eightfold path. And it all has to do with overcoming suffering and unhappiness in our lives. So, there's another video on the life of Buddha here, which will explain that a little more. By the way, this is the tree of wisdom and enlightenment. This would have been when he became enlightened, the enlightened one, and became the Buddha. Here's the eightfold path. It's kind of like 10 Commandments, but right thought, believe in the nature of existence as suffering, and in the Four Noble Truths. 2, you've got to have the right intent. So you've got to be inclined toward goodness and kindness. 3, the right speech. Don't lie, don't gossip. 4, the right action. Don't steal from or harm others. Some of them even kind of sound like the 10 Commandments. 5, right livelihood. Reject work that hurts others. 6, right effort. Prevent evil, do good. 7, the right mindfulness. Control your feelings and your thoughts. That's a hard one. And 8, right concentration. So you've got to practice proper meditation. So for the Buddha, he's like, this does not come easy. You're going to have to put forth effort to be a Buddhist. So when the Buddha became the Buddha, Hinduism, of course, was the dominant quote-unquote religion in India at that time. So we're going to have some conflict here. The Buddha taught that following the Vedic text was unnecessary. Remember, the Aryans came over and they took over. They brought the Vedas with them. That became the Vedic text. So Buddha is now challenging the authority of the Hindu priest. He believed that there's a more individualistic approach to becoming enlightened. And to him, rebirth was a means of evolution. So remember, in Hinduism, you're reborn when you die based on how you lived your life, like your karma. All right, we still have the caste system. Remember where people are divided up? And you're born into that caste system, and that's pretty much where you stay. Well, the Buddha, of course, opposed the caste system. His eightfold path, he said, could lead any individual to nirvana. So think about the video you watched yesterday with the outcast. How could you be born into that caste and ever reach nirvana or ultimate peace? So this is what the Buddha, was having to figure out. So of course he's going to be against the caste system. And it became very popular with a lot of people because he reached all the classes or all the different castes. So at this point, Buddhism branched out. Now this guy, you will see it pronounced Asoka and Ashoka with an H. And I can't figure out which one is which. So I do it both ways because they're the same person. And I call him Ashoka. So Ashoka was one of the most powerful kings in India. He converted from Hinduism to Buddhism. And he spread Buddhism in India and even into foreign lands, like into China. Buddhist missionaries traveled the world to teach about enlightenment and how one could become enlightened and reach that state of nirvana. Well, eventually, we're going to have some conflict within Buddhism. They're going to split into two main sects, which means groups. You're going to have the Theravada and the Mahayana. Members of the Theravada, they went by Buddha's teachings exactly. The Mahayana believed that there was room for individual interpretation. So you didn't take everything the Buddha said literally. You could interpret it as your own. All right, so you're going to come back and watch the videos. There are 2 more videos after this on Buddha and Ashoka and what is Buddhism. That's going to be on the slides after the map. And once you get finished watching those videos, you'll be at the end of this lesson. So here is the map. You can see where Siddhartha Gautama started Buddhism, and then you can see where Buddhism spread. And it's still a main religion. And here are the 2 videos that you're going to come back and watch. Next time, we will learn about the Indian empires in lesson 4.